Hey guys, so today's video is going to be really short and sweet. I'm just going to let you know what I did to get a 800 plus credit score by the time I turned 25. I know there's a lot of videos already out there on YouTube about this, and I don't know if those are from personal experience or because they're a financial advisor or because they've learned from the mistakes of others. But for me, I'm going to tell you what I personally did. Now, this is not a professional financial advice. So before you make any changes in your life, I definitely recommend talking to a financial advisor or someone that knows the ins and outs of the industry way more than I do, because this is just my personal experience of what I did. And I wasn't even shooting for getting that high, but I just noticed that the practices or the habits that I had did give me above 800. And it probably could work out for you. So you might see me looking down because I just wrote a little sticky note of stuff to make sure I don't forget anything. It's about 5 different things that I did. Number one thing is I always paid my bills on time. It didn't matter if it was my rent, if it was my car note, if it was my phone bill. I always paid everything on time. I think that's just a good habit to grow as a young adult, is to pay in full on time every single month. That just keeps you out of trouble, and it obviously helps your credit score. Another thing I did was I opened up a credit card when I turned 18. As soon as I could. I'm not sure if you can do it before then without having a like a guardian sign off on it or something like that. But back then, I went ahead and got it when I was 18. And for that, I just wanted to establish a credit card, of course, so I can start building my credit, but also the length of your credit also does affect your credit score. So how long you've had an account open is a benefit. I believe the cutoff is like 0 to 2 years, 2 to 7 years, and then I think like 7 to 24 or 8 to 24, and then 25 or more. So I'm about to be 26, so I've had that credit card open for 7 years now, and it did actually help boost my score up a little bit. So I would say the sooner you can open one, definitely keep that one and keep it open. Some credit card companies require you to use it periodically to keep it active. Otherwise, they will deactivate your cards. That happened to one of my credit cards that I had because I hadn't used it in 2 years because I was using a different one for my purchases. They ended up closing the account because they found it to be inactive even though I had it. So I would say just make a routine once a year to use your credit cards outside of your standard one that you use every day, just to keep them fresh. Another thing I did was I never went over a third of the limit on my credit card. So for example, I had $1,000 credit card. I never spent more than $300. And a simple way that I did that was to only use it for fixed expenses, meaning like electric, water, phone bill, stuff like that, so that I would never find myself tempted to use it on like buying clothes, buying shoes, buying a plane ticket to Mexico, stuff like that, because that's how people get in the situation where they've maxed out their credit card, they don't have the money in their checkings account to pay it off, and then you kind of get into that debt circle. So be smart, only use a third of it, and then pay it off in full every month. Another thing that I did, which I don't know, might be a little unconventional, is I have multiple credit cards. I don't just have one. I found that on some apps will actually have like a FICO score, and they'll kind of tell you what they base that off of. And one of the things I've seen on there is the available credit limit. So like that's saying collectively, do you have $1,000 available? Do you have 5,000? Do you have 10,000? Do you have 15, 20, 30? So I noticed that my score would go up the more available credit I had. So I do have multiple credit cards. They have various limits. So that's something you can look at. I'm not sure if the logistics behind that specifically, but I know for me that did boost my score quite a bit. So if you don't take anything from this, definitely start when you're young. My parents did not teach me about finance. I had to take a finance class. It was like an elective for my associate's degree I was going for. And I was like, hey, I might as well take a finance class. Like, that's something I could probably actually use. And it really opened up my eyes to how to be financially responsible. I have zero debt. I just paid my car off in full the other day or a couple months ago. So it's like I don't have any debt whatsoever. And it's really good to feel that way. But sometimes it can be hard to be debt free when you weren't taught, or you don't know how to be financially responsible, or how to, minimize those moments of weakness when you're like spending frivolously or spending money on stuff you don't need to. So hopefully this has helped you. I try to keep this video really short, like 5 minutes. Sorry if I talk too fast, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Again, this is not official profesh advice. This is just what I did to get my credit score above 800 by the time I was 25. And I don't think, this is also a little side note, I see the benefit of having a really good credit score, because of course nowadays they're checking it when you rent an apartment, they're checking it definitely when you're trying to buy a car, some are even checking it when you try to get a job. So, and of course, if you plan on buying a house and, getting into that kind of investment wealth kind of idea, you definitely need a decent credit score. I know a lot of institutions really just need you to be like in the 700s, but I'm a little bit of overachiever, so I'm in the 800s. But definitely start when you're young. There's a lot of resources here on YouTube. Take a financial class at your community college if you have one next to you. It was only like $300, and I learned a lot. Or even go to a library and go in the finance section and just try to see if you can find a book that talks about, starting off young or being financially responsible. Those things will really help you in the future. So I hope this video was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will talk to you guys soon.